no. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Welcome to the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show from Bronco Nation News as we get you set for the latest news, insight, and analysis as game time approaches. The BNN pregame show is presented by Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out lithiafordboise.com to view the full inventory of vehicles or check them out at 8853 West Fairview in Boise. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, let's head out and join VJ Rains for the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show from Bronco Nation News.
Well, good evening, Mountain West basketball fans, to the pit here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And there it is, the famed tunnel down to the court. One of my favorite venues in the Mountain West for a lot of reasons, one of which is because one of my favorite people and beat writers, Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal, and we are making history tonight. I think we're making history tonight here at the pit as Bronco Nation News, an outlet that covers Boise State, and the Albuquerque Journal, an outlet that obviously covers New Mexico, teaming up for a joint pregame show here tonight on our various social media channels. And how are we doing, Mr. Jeff Grammer?
Good, man. Can you hear me on this all right, or no?
Turn your mic up a little bit. You were great, now you're a little low. We tested this, and then it got loud. Turn your volume up.
Can you hear me?
Mic at the top up. More.
Can you hear me?
That's a little better.
All right. So,
a little better, yeah. Jack it up. Come on.
I do think we're making history. I think the world is watching. Probably tens of millions. I know the views right there says 440 or whatever it is for now. That's just because it can't keep up. This is going to be big.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Now, for folks watching that usually typically watch Jeff for the Albuquerque Journal coverage, when we do this in Boise, we start out for getting a chance to catch up with the color analyst for the Boise radio side, Mr. Abe Jackson, and he is our guest here right now, and I'll bring him in as well. And Abe Jackson, the pit. Now, this is, by the way, Jeff Grammer, the number 6 all-time leading scorer. Actually, he got bumped down to number 7 last week by Tyson Degenhardt, passing him. So he got passed by Tyson Degenhardt, number 7 all-time leading scorer at Boise State. But you never played in this building, but I know you like coming down here.
Been here quite a bit, but always as a broadcaster, never as a player. And this ranks as probably, I would say, is a top 3 venue in noise. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Boise State had a good lead, and New Mexico went on a run to take the lead late in the second half. And I remember taking my headset off just to experience the whole vibe of the venue, and it is up there as one of the loudest places I've ever been in.
Boise State coming off a dominating game against Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the last time they took the home court against UNLV, that was their best full game all year, and then they come back in Wyoming and beat them by over 40. That was probably their best game. But what I love about the Broncos is their offense. What we've been hearing about their offense all year has really started to click. 36% from three, just under 50% overall shooting. They've been over 79 or over into the 90s too in the last 3 games. So they're really scoring the ball.
Now, this is a privilege for you. I know you enjoy taking my questions, but the top beat writer in the conference here, Jeff Rammer, I know has some questions as well. Jeff, the floor is all yours, sir.
So I am curious about the pass. Can you guys hear me all right? It went quiet on my side. I am curious about a player passing you. We got a guy, a Lobo legend, covering Lobo basketball in Hunter Green. And over the last few years, some players have been passing him on some various lists, right? Or some teammates have been passing that they've been passing. And he's always gracious about it. I know that you're going to be gracious about it. But there's got to be a little something to you about, like, maybe are you happy that your name is brought up again in the, hey, remember what I did? This is as good as that guy is. That's what I did too. Or is there a little bit of a, maybe if he pulls a hammy tonight, doesn't break that record one more game, and I'd be okay with that.
You know, when you're done playing and you see where you fall in the record books, that's really when you're pretty much the happiest, because you're like, look, I mean, this is a career accomplishment, and here's my numbers and whatever it is. But watching and calling the games for 17 years now, the Bronco teams have been really, really good. And so if we didn't have people passing everyone else in records over these last 17 years, they probably wouldn't be that good. It wouldn't be fun to call the games. The fans wouldn't be going. We wouldn't have gone to 3 NCAA tournaments in a row, hopefully 4 this year. So I will trade my stats getting beat by some of the great players like Tyson Degenhardt any day if I get to call a bunch of wins and keep going to the postseason.
And he was number 3 all the time, Jeff. When he retired, he was number 3. He's since gotten past 3 times. This guy's one of the best three-point shooters in Boise State history, and he's seen a lot of these games, almost all the games, probably every game here in the pit like you have, Jeff.
Well, let me ask you, if you're a three-point shooter, what did you think of I'll tell you, I asked Richard Patino yesterday, are you happy that you will not hear Max Rice's name called for this game in the pregame warm-ups? Because he hit 7 of them here last year, and I wouldn't say they were all great shots. There was somebody in his face every time.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the most memorable games because Max Rice was coming off of a pretty poor shooting stretch for his career coming into this game. And, you know, I know that there were talks in the media about, you know, should he not shoot as many threes? And then all of a sudden he comes out and knocks down a bunch of threes. I think he was over 30. I don't remember his exact point total, but it's just a huge game for Max. And he had that ability. There was a few games last year, single-handedly went on a 12-0 run against San Diego State back in Boise to help us beat the Aztecs. So Max Rice had the ability to get hot at the right time.
And, Jeff, that was the famous game where, I was part of the media that was being a little negative on Max Rice. And after the game, his big game, I requested him for an interview, and he declined to comment. That became kind of a big story back in Boise. That was the game down here. But, Abe, what is it about this place that makes it for you as a visiting side special to come to?
Well, there's things that make for a good venue, right? One, historical significance, and this place has it in spades. I mean, it's been here forever. It has the bench seating around, which you don't see a whole lot. They pack in the crowd. The crowd is into the game, so the crowd makes a good environment. And then also you have to have a good team. You can have the best environment, and if your team's not very good, it doesn't make for a good experience. So having a good team year after year like New Mexico usually has, and then having a venue that packs it in and the fans get after it, it's one of those special places in college basketball.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there was about an 8-year stretch there where that good team part of it wasn't really – the team wasn't holding up their end of the bargain, but it's back, though. And that's, in a weird way, not that any Lobo fan wanted to go that decade-long drought between NCAA tournaments, but in a weird way, when they got back there last year, and one of the teams they beat in the Mountain West tournament to get there was Boise State, it made some fans here appreciate it so much more than when they were going once every 3 or 4 years, which would be great now. Everybody would love that. But, I think it made people appreciate it a whole lot more.
Now, Abe, tell me this. From your perspective, we'll get Jeff's perspective in a minute. If you are joining us Get your comments, your questions in for Jeff or I on your various platforms you're watching on. We'll get to those. But what does Boise State, in your mind, need to do to keep that momentum going? I mean, the three-point shot has finally started falling, and that's made a big difference. 27 threes the last 2 games.
Yeah, it really has. And the team overall is shooting 36% from three, and they were in the high 20s really before this conference started this year. So the shots are starting to go down. The offense is clicking to where I think the coaches kind of thought it was going to click. But I think for the Broncos, a lot of it comes down defensively, and it's handling Donovan Dent, not just his scoring, but taking away his vision. He's one of the best assisters in the country. And so if you can take away his vision to make plays for others, I think you're going to be successful. He's such a good scorer. It's going to be tough to keep him under his average, but if you can maybe keep him under his average of assists or get the ball out of his hand so he's not the one creating all the time, I think that would be go a long way.
What else does Boise State need to do tonight to head out of here with a victory?
Well, you got to knock down shots. I mean, New Mexico saw what happened at San Jose State. You can correct me, Jeff, but I think 2 made 3-pointers. 2 or 3 made 3-pointers against the Spartans, and if you can't knock down shots, it is tough to win games, especially on the road.
Yeah, the Lobos, look, they've been outscored at the 3-point line 4 times this year by double digits, and you lose at the 3-point line, 30-9 or something like that. It's going to be really hard to make that up on 2s and 1s, at the free throw line and down low. And the 3-point line has become kind of that equalizer, right? Teams have come in the pit pretty regularly and kind of gone off like Max did last year individually. Teams have had some big 3-point nights here, and the Lobos don't shoot a high volume of threes. So if there's one place that the Lobos have been vulnerable, I think it's that they don't even shoot a high volume or make a high volume of the ones they do shoot.
Hey, before we let you go, just the importance of this game, obviously a quad one opportunity, a chance to, get back in the at-large picture. Obviously, not a lot of those left, and if the schedule has, it is what it is here. What in terms of the significance of this game, it's not a theoretical, it's not actually a must-win, but in terms of doing what you want to do, they could really use this one tonight.
Oh yeah, it's an important one for the Broncos. It's also an important one for New Mexico. I mean, part of being a good team is had to bounce back after losses, and New Mexico's coming off the loss. But for Boise State, you can talk about the metrics all you want, but for the Broncos, you're right back in the thick of things. You get New Mexico, you have them with 2 losses. You're going to have 2 losses. Utah State has 1 loss, but let's be honest, there could have been probably 2 other ones that Utah State lost. So I don't really think Utah State is that good of a 1-loss team in conference. Broncos get this game here, and I think they are right back in the mix, and they are probably one of the hottest team, I think, in the conference if the Broncos get a win here.
Well, hey, we'll be listening. Folks can watch on Fox Sports 1. Turn down the volume back in Boise. Bronco Radio Network, Learfield. Coming up in 15 minutes with the pregame show, your broadcast just over top of the hour on 670 KBOI. Appreciate it as always, sir.
Good to see you.
All right, there he is, Jeff. Abe Jackson, 6th all-time leading scorer. Now that all the Lobo fans have turned off the show because of the Broncos start here, we can have some fun with this. And this is going to be fun, Jeff. I know we were talking, trying to set this up, and what made some sense here in terms of trying to, do I come on your show, you come on my show, and I think we found something here. And so far, I think it's a good perspective to hear the other side of things for our various fan bases. And I've told people in Boise before, but you do a tremendous job covering New Mexico. You and Mark Ziegler are kind of the standard here when it comes to the league and the media members and the beat writers. So privileged and honored to have.
I was gonna say that I told you at the Mountain West Media Day the same thing. I don't know if we're cutting out a little bit now on my Wi-Fi here, but I told you guys at Media Day the same thing. I'm just glad you guys are letting the New Mexico guys stay involved and be a part of this, and the Pac-12 defectors haven't kicked out the New Mexico beat writer just yet.
I am going to miss that, man. I was talking about that with my wife. Some of these venues not get to come to Albuquerque. It is a little I really hope you got to think Boise State and New Mexico would try to keep some sort of non-conference game going, at least semi-occasionally, right?
Yeah, every couple of years at least. I hope so. I certainly hope so.
So, Jeff, if you get any comments, you can kind of take over this as well. This is your show as much as it is mine, but this is we're using kind of the platform that we use for our show covering Boise State Bronco Nation news. But Jeff Grammer is here covering the Albuquerque Journal, and Jeff, I know you got a lot of covering New Mexico for the Albuquerque Journal, and I know you get a lot of comments and questions and things about officiating and everything else. I don't know if any comments are coming through yet, but what's just kind of your take, I guess, on this this matchup and this game tonight?
Look, I first of all, I think it's actually, even in mid, still early kind of ish January, it's actually a pretty important game. The Lobos, while they are off to a 6-1 start, certainly have the tougher part of their schedule ahead of them, right? They have choosed one of them starting tonight. They still have 2 games with Boise State. They still have 2 games with Utah State, and they still have road games at Nevada and at San Diego State. So, like, a lot of their tough games, especially on the road, are in front of them. They did go to Colorado State, who's a team that I still haven't got a great read on yet how good they are, because when the Lobos played them, they were up 17 points with 1:37 to go. It was a one-sided. The UNM had a 21-0 run at one point. They beat up on the Rams pretty good. And the only reason that ended up looking like the only reason they ended up a 9-point differential was because with 1:37 left, the Lobos basically were done. They were letting clock run out, and Colorado State hit 2 threes and had a 3-point play in the last 60 seconds or so. But it is what it is. That's part of the game. That was a blowout, though. They blew out Colorado State in Moby, and I still think Colorado State might be pretty good. Now, the Lobos also blew out San Diego State here a week ago in the pit, and it ended up being a 12-point outcome, but that should have been 18. Again, they scored the last 6 points, and frankly, they go to San Jose State, and I don't think it was that bad of a loss. It was a loss. You gotta win that game. But as Boise State knows, going down to the last possession with San Jose State could happen. Now, Boise State came out on the right side of that, but Lobo fans are kind of hitting the panic button because of that San Jose State game. I think the Lobos are still very much in a position that everything is in front of them, and they might still be pretty good, even though they just lost at San Jose State. But they better win this one. They can't lose the games at home, that's for sure.
Yeah, Boise State's already lost the home game to San Diego State, and that was kind of a little bit of a wake-up call for them. They got crushed on the glass in that game, and Leon was talking yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, about, we lost on the boards to San Diego State, and then look what New Mexico did to San Diego State on the board. So rebounding, I think, could be a big one tonight. But Boise State, the last 3 games, I know they lost at Utah State, but they played very well in that game. Probably should have won that game. Just a couple crazy shots there, at the end of the game. But that's 3 games in a row. UNLV, they blew them out at home, and then we saw what UNLV just did to Utah State, and then blew out, lost that close game at Utah State, and then just blew out Wyoming by 41 points at home. So I think Boise State feels like they're kind of ascending and trending in the right direction here. Typically, you lose on the road in this conference, you come back and take out your frustration at home on somebody, and you would, maybe wouldn't be a surprise if New Mexico comes out and wins this one, pretty handedly. But how do you? What's the sense you get in terms of them trying to put this one behind them? Because they could go one of 2 ways. They could come out here and be pissed off and play great, or they could let it linger a little bit and turn it into a losing streak.
I'll tell you what I'm kind of curious to see. First of all, Donovan Dent kind of got everyone together on the plane, and Donovan Dent's not much of a talker. He talks to referees a lot. Not quite Jalen House, but he'll talk to the refs a lot. But he's actually not much of a vocal guy. And so the fact that after the San Jose State game, he got all the teams, all the players together on the plane, and he kind of talked it over was pretty telling to me that he's ready to sort of take that next step. Like, he gets he's the best player. He now is sort of trying to be not just the leader by example, but the leader by voice and by, look, guys, this is, I've been through this, and follow me. So I'm curious to see their response to that. It's kind of the first time Donovan Dent's ever done that. But the other thing I'm curious to see is the reason Boise State has been such a horrible, horrible matchup for the Lobos in the Richard Pitino era was the Richard Pitino era for 3 years started 2 guards, Jalen House at 6 foot maybe, and Jamal Mashburn Jr., who was a 6'2" guard who he looked for mid-range shots the whole time. So those 2 guards, and then when Donovan Dent came along at 6'2", they were starting 3 guards, 6'2" or shorter, and Boise State's had size on the perimeter every time they played, and they made life hell on Jalen and on Jamal, and those guys are gone now. The Lobos now have size at every position. Their shortest position is now Donovan Dent at 6'2", and I want to see this matchup tonight being played for the first time without Boise State having that size advantage on the perimeter, and see if UNM can do anything about it. They can take advantage of that.
I know you got at least one comment on your YouTube channel in there from John Romero, but you might want to get to that. But also give folks that aren't familiar the lowdown on the turquoise uniforms tonight.
So turquoise is actually an official third kind of alternate color for University of New Mexico, and turquoise is a big part of New Mexico, and they usually bust out these turquoise uniforms at least once a year, and I want to say they've done it a couple times on the road lately, depending on what arrangement they can get with the other team. But turquoise does come out a couple times a year, a few times a year, and tonight's the night. It's Native American. Has some Native American ties. Noah Begate Jr., the golfer, is from UNM, from Albuquerque, and has some ties with his foundation that they do it on this night. And turquoise is a big part of Native American jewelry in New Mexico. So it's all kind of tied in there. I'll tell you, in the 70s, some of the best New Mexico teams. I don't know how many of your viewers are going to know this, but Norm Ellenberger, a coach of the 1978 Lobo team that had Michael Cooper and just a really good Lobo team. He used to wear this big, huge turquoise necklace that was gifted to him by a guy. I don't know his first name, but his last name was Tenorio. That guy's son, last week after the San Diego State game, gifted Richard Pitino a handmade pot that he made, some Indian pottery. And so coincidence, I guess, is just a week ago, the Tenorio family who gifted Norm Ellenberger this turquoise necklace that he was pretty famous for wearing, gifted Richard Pitino some handmade Indian pottery last week.
There you go. That's pretty cool. We forgot to mention, if there is bad Wi-Fi or if there is a bad connection or an echo or something, there's two people to blame, and it's not Jeff Grammer and BJ Rains. It is Max Rice and Jalen House, correct?
That is right. That's who we agreed upon. I think both fan bases can get on board. We were thinking about blaming Snake. I haven't even seen Snake tonight. Not sure if he's here tonight.
Him actually from Pete Russo. If you think you could go, Snake will hiss at Leon.
Have you seen Snake?
I have not seen him tonight, no.
So Snake did not show up at last Saturday's game against San Diego State, and I have not seen him tonight. So I am officially worried about Snake, which it's hard to do, but I am officially worried about Snake. So I don't know where he is, and we shall see. So
now, Jeff, I know Boise State fans are, the Boston College loss, the quad 4 loss, horrible, ugly loss. There's a question in here from John Romero on your YouTube about if the Lobos should lose, do you think New Mexico State will pass them in camp? I know it's kind of a joke, I believe, but is that loss and then the San Jose one are now the two, unfortunately, on the wrong side of their team sheet, right?
So those are the two bad losses. And at the time, the New Mexico State loss, they were ranked 240, I think, in the net, 225 in Ken Palm. They have since then won 8 in a row. They're 4-0 in Conference USA, the only undefeated team in Conference USA. They have multiple 30-point wins in conference. So, New Mexico State's making a heck of a run. They're at about, 125, I think, or so now in Ken Palm right now. And the problem is they're not going to climb anymore. There's nobody in Conference USA that New Mexico State, unfortunately for the Aggies, can really beat right now. That's going to, unless it's 40 points every night, and it won't be, but unless it's 40 points every night, New Mexico State is just not going to be able to climb much anymore in either Ken Palm or really even the net. Even if they win road games, they just don't have good wins, good games in front of them.
Jeff, I'm not going to do my full standard commercial breaks to bore your viewers, but I am going to take 30 quick seconds here to thank our Bronco Nation news sponsors that helped us get down here to Albuquerque for this game. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Bronco Nation News is presented by RowPaint.com, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, by Lithia Ford, The Blue and Orange Store, Western Collective, by Jackson's, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Bauscher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, by Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and by Timberstone Golf Course.
Shout out to our newest sponsor as well, Signature Roofing. You can leave that voicemail on the Signature Roofing voicemail line. Jeff, okay, this Lobo team, this Boise State team, this conference, what do you make of this conference? I don't think you've seen Utah State live yet, but you've seen you'll see Boise State tonight. But You cover this conference as good as anybody. What's your take on the tier system here in this league?
I don't know if fans can hear the song being played right now. It is La Bamba, so anybody that knows, I do love me some La Bamba.
Get up and dance for us. Come on, Jeff. We'll put you full screen here. Give us a little shoulder shake or something. Come on.
If I didn't have to, I do kind of got the little backyard barbecue shirt on too. So I'll say this about the league. Utah State obviously has done everything right and put themselves in a great position. Utah State fans are going to hate hearing this. I'm still not entirely sold on them. But the league clearly didn't do in the non-conference enough like last year where this is going to be a 5 or 6 bid league. It's just not. I do think top end it could get to 4. I don't think it will, but it could get to 4. I would say this is a 2 or 3 bid league with 2 looking more probably probable than 3 right now. It's not going to drop to a 1. This won't fall to a 1 bid league. I know some people, a lot of doom and gloomers out there want to say that. You got to remember there are 32 leagues. The Mountain West is still, it's closer to the ACC and the Power 5 structure in basketball. It is closer to the ACC than it is to the whatever teams are behind them. So there's still going to be 25 other conferences behind them that are further away and mostly 1 and 2 bid leagues. That it's not like all the SEC can't take everybody. Now they're having a great year and they're going to take a lot of bids. But there's still going to be 2, maybe 3 bids available for the Mountain West this year.
Now, somebody from your YouTube here says we don't want to see Jeff Grammer dance. Just saying. Come on. Come on.
I'm telling you, I get paid good money for my dances sometimes.
Have you done any daughter daddy dances yet at school?
Yeah. She beats me at picking basketball, and she's the dancer. And I tell her every time, every performance she does, I'm like, you got that from me, right? She hasn't passed me on the dancing yet. It is. I usually don't just give it away for free anymore, the dancing, but it is well known that Jeff Grammer is a fantastic dancer.
Good question coming in here, Jeff. What metric provider do we both favor now, i.e. KenPom? I know there was a lot of talk with the net in the Mountain West not getting much respect in the net last year, but now you have Bart Torvik. There's some other ones. What do you like to look at?
I'll tell you my favorite. First of all, KenPom's my go-to. I open KenPom because it's so easy to navigate, frankly. You got the referee rankings. It's so quick to jump from team to team and see their whole schedule, who they played, when they played, everything you need to see. So I would say in terms of just usability, not necessarily the one I always agree with, but in terms of usability, KenPom is fantastic. And it's pretty cheap, but it is for pay. I'll add this, though. There's a couple of them I like. EvanMaya.com. His I've been kind of looking at for the first time extensively this year. I really like it. Bart Torvik has some things that I really like. What I like about Bart Torvik is there's a function on there where you can say, okay, look, the Lobos played without, they haven't had injury problems this year. I guess as a Lobo fan, you better not say I'm jinxing it now, but say on December 15th, was the first time they had played with Donovan Dent all year. You can go back and start December 15th on the rankings and just see where the whole country ranks since that date. You can adjust like what time period you want, and that is something the selection committee could do. Like when a team plays without somebody or something happened to a team, they take a chunk out sometimes to see, okay, what did the team look like? They'll still look at the big picture, but they want to see sometimes too, what did they look like without that guy or when he came back? And Bart Torvik allows some of that, and I kind of like doing that. Yeah. If you look,
I think Bart Torvik has. Sorry to catch up. Bart Torvik, with a Boise State win, has them in the field.
Yeah, Bart Torvik
season out with a Boise State win tonight. He's a little higher on Boise State than some, but if you do what you're talking about and project out some future games and stuff too, which you can also do, if you put in a Boise State win tonight, and then what it factors in the rest of the season, Boise State in his eyes would make the field.
And I will tell Lobo fans, BartTorvik.com has been kinder to the UNM Lobos than KenPom has. I've been I'm a longtime KenPom advocate, still am, for all the reasons I said earlier, but I've also just sort of, in general, believed in his rankings, in his formula. This is the first year, and it's been 13 now that I've been at the Journal covering the Lobos. First year that I've questioned why the Lobos were as low as they were for a while. They had one bad loss, and it was New Mexico State for a while. Just Tuesday was the San Jose State loss. but they had beat UCLA, they had beat VCU, they beat USC on a neutral court. They had some wins away from the pit, and they had some double-digit wins that usually help the metrics, and they never really got out of the 50s and 60s, you know? And last year, when everyone pointed out that they didn't play anybody, they finished the season 22 in the net, and the committee said, you're not invited. You had to win the Mountain West tournament. So I'm a little confused as to why last year's computer metrics, including Ken Palm, treated the Lobos so good when they didn't play anybody. They did this year what they were sort of told they had to do. Play some more games away from the pit, win some games away from the pit, and we'll see. That's what we want you to do. They did that, and their metrics are way worse this year than they were last year. So
yeah, it is very interesting from that standpoint why that is the case. And Bart Torvik's been higher on Boise State over the years as well. He's got them 38th, I think, or something, and Ken Palm still has 50th or something like that. There's a big disparity right there. On your YouTube there on the Albuquerque Journal, John is wanting to know about C.J. Nolan. Has been cold along with Amziel. He says, certainly hope they are recalibrated for tonight.
Yeah, I'll say this. Amziel was a point of a lot of interesting conversation in the past week because social media was just hammering him, and I reported on it. And anytime a reporter reports on social media, he gets accused of fanning the flames and amplifying the vocal few, right? And that kind of stuff, which, okay, I can see that if I did it a lot, but the reality is, like, these players see that kind of stuff, and they got to the point that I know the team knew about it, was very aware. So I wrote about it. Amziel was struggling. The funny thing is, like, his struggles have coincided with at least two other players, C.J. Nolan being one of them, Braden Appelhans, a fan favorite, being another, and he hasn't even played that much anymore because of it. And those two players don't get criticized ever, and this other player, Mustafa Amziel, was getting criticized. So it was weird to me that the social media criticism singled out one player when three of them were struggling. That said, you're right, John. Like, if one of those three doesn't start hitting some outside shots, this Lobo team is going to be in trouble. Not just tonight, but moving forward.
Jimmy says metrics are only good for European measurements.
All right. Jimmy's a good regular go-to for such comments. Metrics are only good for European measurements.
Our three officials tonight, we've got at least at the top a star-studded officiating crew. That's one of the reasons I like you, Jeff. You're kind of an officiating nerd like I am, and I think a lot of fans just don't realize like the impact, especially in this conference, like officials have on the game. Like, you get a guy in foul trouble, like that's a game changer. The officials are a big deal in conference games, and so tonight we got some basketball royalty in the house. The number 2 ranked ref at Ken Palm, and that is Keith Kimball. He has ref 53 games this season. That's one of the most in the country. He was in Jacksonville, Alabama last night, doing Jacksonville State and Louisiana Tech. But Keith Kimball, ton of Big Ten, ton of SEC games. He was at the pit, I believe, for the New Mexico overtime win over Nevada earlier this season. So Keith Kimball, the number 2 ranked ref in the country, is here, as well as Nate Harris. Nate Harris comes in at number 55 on Ken Palm, and then Nate Harris, who does a lot of Mountain West games, and then Kevin Brill. He was in East Lansing, Michigan, doing Penn State, Michigan State on Wednesday. He comes in at number 103 on Ken Palm. So not surprised to get somebody in the top 5 like a Keith Kimball, but I'm surprised, nothing against Kevin Brill. They had to go all the way down to 103 when, by my count, Jeff Grammer, there's only 3 games west of the Mississippi tonight. I thought that they would have had a little bit on the middle and bottom level, a little, more veteran guys or some guys looking for paychecks. I mean, I wanted to see Highnese Anderson here in the house. Come on, where's Jeff Anderson at?
We did Tuesday night's game in San Jose. There were only 500 people in the stands, and Highnese was one of them, and he had the most glorious. He called a charge right in front of me, and I lost it. I was fanboying that. I'll tell you what though, check out Kevin Brill real quick. If you look. Was it him or was it Nate Harris? I think it was Kevin Brill. He went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So he did that, and he went from Denver, Colorado to Buffalo, New York the very next day, to Youngstown, Ohio, to Indiana, West Lafayette, Indiana, to Maryland, to Ohio, to East Lansing, Michigan on Wednesday, and now on Friday he's back in New Mexico. That's crazy to go from Thursday, January 9th in Denver, Colorado to Friday, January 10th in Buffalo, New York.
Hey, you got a day off yesterday. He should be refreshed and ready to go.
So he's fine now, but he put in one heck of a week there traveling, and and racking up those game checks. So good for Kevin Brill.
Overall, though, Keith Kimball, number 2 ranked rep at Ken Palm, not a bad guy to have lead your crew. He's a Final Four type official that anytime you turn on a Big Monday or Super Tuesday type game, a lot of times you'll see a Keith Kimball out there.
So I see a comment here. Check this out real quick. Let me show here. Oh, I clicked it twice. Anyone seeing that 8-year-old kid draining threes out there? Let me tell you who this 8-year-old little red shirt. If you're referring to the one being shown right now, walking kind of more towards us, facing us now, that is Jack Pitino, Richard Pitino's son. And on the other end of the court, you can't see in the camera right now, is Deacon Felton, Tarvish Felton, assistant coach's son. But right now, facing up, that's Deacon, named after Deacon Jones, big Cowboy fan in the family. But yeah, the guy at the three-point line right now without a ball, although the ball's bouncing to him, is Jack Pitino, who owns this place. He runs the show here. He is a ball boy, and he thinks he works here, and he bosses those other kids around, and he can shoot. He told me a couple weeks ago that he hit a step-back 3 to force overtime in his he plays with 10-year-olds. He's only 8, and he plays with 10-year-olds, he will tell you. And or no, maybe he's 10 and plays with 12-year-olds. Shoot, I can't remember. He plays 2 years up, though, whatever it is. And he told me about his step-back 3 to force overtime. And I asked his dad after the game, I'm like, is that right? Did he hit a step-back 3? He's like, yeah, it was actually really impressive. He said, but they lost. I was like, Jack, you didn't tell me you guys lost. He's like, I didn't care about that. So he didn't care that they lost. He just cared he hit a step-back 3 in a youth game that forced overtime. So good for him.
Yeah, cool story. All right, Jimmy's got a comment on there, Forever Lobos, referencing the baseball incident from a couple of years ago. I don't know if you saw my tweet or not, Jeff, but a little birdie sent me a photo during the shoot-around today up on the video boards, the entire shoot-around. Just randomly, they were playing a baseball game from 2023, a New Mexico baseball game last year. What do you make of there we go. We got our man. We might want to ask him, why was the baseball game playing? Ask Frank why the baseball game was playing earlier today. But, that's always a topic that comes up here.
Yeah, I don't think Frank has an answer. I don't think everyone was extremely happy that baseball game thing was shown. I will say this. Both coaches have had fun with it since. They've kind of joked about it. I don't think Richard Pitino had any desire to poke the bear during a team shoot-around. I think that was certainly independent of anything Richard Pitino would have wanted to happen during a shoot-around. But, yeah.
You talk to somebody in the athletic department or somebody that it turns out that my tweet made public, they weren't too happy that it got public.
Absolutely. They were very upset. Yeah, they were upset that got made public. That said, I think both sides, after it happened, pretty much moved on and agreed to move on and agreed it was a silly whatever, blah, blah, blah. UNM should never have had the baseball team in that hallway. They were being announced at halftime. And as you know, the back workings of the pit here, there's a hallway that they walked down to get to. They weren't supposed to be there till Boise State was out of the locker room. Instead, literally an intern walked them down that hallway and said, wait here. And they were supposed to do that after, because they went in the first media timeout of the second half. Wait till the team leaves so you bring the baseball team down. It's a narrow hallway. Wasn't a good situation.
And now I'm not saying this is your fault. Obviously, you just reported what was in the report. But my understanding of the investigation or the incident report from that, I never saw anybody from Boise State quoted in that. So I'm not saying that from the thing I saw, and maybe I'm wrong, but all the people they talked to were on the New Mexico side. So a lot of your readers, I know, take the New Mexico side and, hey, this is what the investigation said. A lot of the Boise State people say, well, they didn't talk to Leon Rice and get his side of the story, or at least didn't put it in the investigation. So whatever team you're a fan of, you're going to take that side in this incident, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and I will say Jeremiah Dickey and Leon, through a spokesman I had reached out to before that story, and both said they weren't going to talk about it. That's fine. And Jeremiah said, we accept the league's finding of the report being fine. So he didn't publicly. If he did privately, that's something I don't know, but publicly, he said he accepted the report as fine, and they moved on. And we'll go from there. Leon is already a guy that I think some fans around the league but Lobo fans have probably already started turning on a little bit. But that gave these Lobo fans like something to really latch on to. And if you didn't like Leon Rice, you can now not like him because of baseball. That doesn't mean they should have shown this stupid baseball stuff on the monitor during shoot-around.
Now, Donovan Dent, one of the best point guards in America, but I don't know if a lot of people know this. There was a time where Donovan Dent was almost a Boise State Bronco. He may or may not have even verbally committed, as R.J. Keene, a reserve guard, told us on the show yesterday that he went to dinner with him on his visit. Remember Donovan Dent visiting Boise? I saw him give Mike Burns, one of the assistant coaches at Boise State, a hug over there. So obviously ended up going to New Mexico. I don't know the full story there. Maybe you know more of it, but a little side story here that's a couple years ago during his recruitment, the final two schools where Donovan Dent, believe it or not, were Boise State and New Mexico.
That's true. I will say I don't know exactly why he ended up choosing New Mexico over it. There was an assistant coach here who does have a connection with his high school coach, and so there had been a former player here from Centennial High in Coronado. I was about to say Corona, California. He's from Riverside, but from Corona's where the high school is. Anyway, there were some connections to that high school. I know that. Eric Brown, former Lobo assistant, had some connections in the recruiting as well. So I don't know ultimately why he ended up picking UNM over Boise State. But let me throw this out there. You know who Ashton Genty, one of his first offers was from the New Mexico Lobos. And
Ashton Genty could have been doing this down there at the house that Brian Urlacher built. Wow.
Everybody knows that had he come to UNM, he would have probably won the Heisman. Yeah,
I know you're kidding, but some Boise State fans.
Been a very different college career for Ashton Genty than had he, taken the UNM football offer. That's for sure.
What does speaking of Donovan Dent, New Mexico, from your perspective, what does New Mexico need to do to hold serve here on home court and win this game?
Okay, the number one key for every game for the Lobos, in my mind, and it might be oversimplifying it, but that's what we're doing here. Donovan Dent is one of the best point guards out west. You could say statistically, certainly one of the best in the whole country. He is that good. He plays defense. He's in the top 10 right now in steals in the league. He leads the league in points. He's number 2 now behind Cardenas in assists. But he's the only player in the country averaging 19 points and 6.5 assists. You can drop down to like 5.2 assists is the next guy who's averaging as many points as him, but he can also defend. I say all that to say he and Nelly Jr. Joseph, who has fantastic feet, have run the high pick and roll right at the top of the key. That high ball screen, the high pick and roll is what they set up most of their offense from. And those two guys are fantastic at it. They're one of the best centers I've covered in setting that screen and not moving his hip and getting called and knowing what to do with the roll or whatever, just knowing what to do after the screen. Donovan's the best that I've ever seen, that I've ever covered. And Fran Fraschilla told me this at a Colorado State game a year ago when he was playing against Isaiah Stevens. He thought Donovan on the pick and roll was better than Isaiah Stevens, which was saying a lot. Donovan is fantastic at it. But those two players, if you shut down that pick and roll, these role players for the Lobos have to step up. Tuesday night at San Jose State was the first time all year they didn't get a third player scoring double figures. And if you don't have the other guys, as I've referred to them a couple times recently, if the other guys don't make teams pay, all Boise State and all everybody's going to do all season is basically shut down that high screen pick and roll with Donovan Dent, Nelly Jr. Joseph. And that's the key to stopping the Lobos. Shut that down and hope the role players don't, hurt you.
What is your take of Boise State, and what is Richard Pitino and the Lobos' take of Boise State in this matchup?
Hi, both of us. He said it in his press conference yesterday. He still thinks Boise State, preseason favorite, obviously, as you know, is still certainly within striking distance. It's so early that, a lot of teams say they're still within striking distance. Personally, I would say the same. I would say it's about a 4-team race now, right? You got 4 teams in contention for the postseason. That's Utah State, San Diego State, Boise State, and New Mexico. If any team makes a run outside of that, maybe it's Nevada getting right. only because I'm still clinging to what I thought in the preseason might happen. They certainly haven't shown it. Even in their wins, they didn't even deserve to win the Air Force game, and they struggled, went to overtime with Fresno State. Like, even their wins haven't even looked good against the bottom of the league. So they're not only, losing games, the ones they're winning are against bad teams, and they're not doing good. Maybe I should quit talking to that. But I will say this, those 4 teams at the top, Boise State is 100% still absolutely one that I respect and the Patino respects. And Tyson Degenhardt's the start of it, right? He's the head of the beast for a reason, and they respect him. And I think they really respect, I'm looking at him right now without his hair for the first time, but they respect Meadow. They really like Omar Stanley. What's Omar Stanley coming off the bench for now? How long has that been happening? For about a month?
It's a very surprising thing if you're a New Mexico fan or a fan of another team to look up and go, what is Omar Stanley doing coming off the bench? And he's just struggling with some confidence issues right now. Cayman Islands, he had a couple bad games, and he just hasn't been himself. He's kind of got the yips a little bit, Jeff. He'll come in and have a real quick turnover or just, real quick miss a shot or get a foul. He just can't get in a rhythm, and just a lot of bad stuff happens to him quickly in games. And when you're in conference play and you got to win games, they're just trying to go with other guys that maybe right now give him a better chance to win. So I think Omar Stanley is actually a massive key to this game for Boise State. He is on the interior as a guy that can go up against Nelly Jr. Joseph defensively. They've got a 7-footer, Dylan Anderson, but he's not great defensively. He might play a little bit, come in and shoot a 3. But he's not really, he's more of a finesse big man. He's not going to come in and, just bully you down low like a Stanley could. So I think Stanley, from a rebounding and defense standpoint, they need him to get back to where he's at. And, he's still averaging 9 points, 6 rebounds. It's not like he's having a bad season, but he's only averaging 20.8 minutes per game. And he's just, like I said, just when he's right, he's one of the, best 5 to 8 players in this league probably. I believe he was first team preseason all league or should have been or was right there. But just for, like I said, I would say it's similar to maybe having the yips, just has struggled to really get in a rhythm early when he comes in. So if he could come in and, play good D and get a rebound early or score early or do something positive early, that could be a big sign for him that he's going to be back with a big game tonight.
I was going to pull this one up I referenced this earlier, but yeah, Cardenas is 6'9" and Dent is 6'7" in league play in assists. I will tell you that Cardenas is a guy that Patino says he just loved from his days at San Jose State. Now, Jalen House, who was a hiccup, as fast as a hiccup and just quick as can be, gave Cardenas a lot of fits. Donovan Dent is not Jalen House. They're very different. He is not as quick as Jalen House. He's a very pure, very good point guard, but he is not what Jalen House was speed-wise and being able to give Cardenas the fits that he gave him at San Jose State.
Jimmy says Stanley worries me. He is due. Tyler K agrees. Stanley's overthinking things out there, trying to play perfect, not playing with the full motor that he had last year. Jeff, I want to do one more 25-second thank you, and then we'll give our final thoughts and wrap this thing up if that works for you. We'll be back in 25 seconds.
Bronco Nation News is presented by RowPaint.com, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, by Lithia Ford, The Blue and Orange Store, Western Collective, by Jackson's, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Bauscher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, by Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and by Timberstone Golf Course.
Now, Jeff, Boise State is actually the higher-ranked team at KenPom. They come in at number 50. New Mexico is number 60. But yet when you factor in home court and everything else, KenPom has this as a 2-point advantage for New Mexico, 78-76. I don't know what it ended up at, but I know the opening spread in Vegas was 3.5, I believe, for going this one. We mentioned a big game for both teams, and New Mexico obviously, I guess, has more to lose, right? Trying to protect home court and try to do what they want to do at home. But Boise State, I think, obviously, not the end of the world if they lose, but their hopes of an at-large bid are dwindling here, and this would be a massive win for them. So a lot on the line for both teams, but Boise State, I think, maybe has more to gain in this one.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity game for Boise State. It doesn't hurt them if they lose, but they lose an opportunity. I think New Mexico has to hold serve at home because it will hurt you. Losing this game only hurts one team, and that would be New Mexico. winning this game, it would help New Mexico. I'm not naive enough to say it wouldn't help them, but it certainly would help Boise more. So the benefit of this game probably is more in the court of Boise State, and I'd say the downside or potential negative is certainly in the UNM side, because if you can hold serve, and right now, look at it. If you look at the home road standings that I post sometimes, Utah State almost got picked off at home, as you know, but didn't. Utah State and New Mexico right now are at +3, and that's if you -1 for a home loss and +1 for a road win. There's 2 teams that are +3, and everyone else is +1 or lower. And right now, it's UNM and Utah State. So if you can keep winning at home, it's huge. And Boise State's already lost at home. San Diego State's already lost at home, obviously to fellow contenders, but they did lose at home. So that's what New Mexico needs to realize is as long as they don't lose at home all season long, they'll be right in the hunt the whole time.
Yeah, and like I said, for Boise State, just a huge game for them, a huge opportunity to try and, I'm looking at my family over there. They must know somebody. Somehow they're in like the front row over there, Jeff. That's my wife and kids walking in. I don't know what they got lucky. I guess that New Mexico, whoever was passing out tickets, didn't realize that it was the opposing beat writer's family. Right by the fence. Wow, look at that. How about that? That's those are like the booster seats. What's going on over there? I have no idea. But, all right, good for my family. They got some good seats there.
Those seats, that front row, usually is the team. I don't know. I thought it was the opposing team, but no, that front row. Yeah, good for them.
No, they may or may not have tickets, so they may have needed to fill those seats and help them out. But I know, Jeff, speaking of my son being over there, you got to take your daughter to a road trip. I know you're incorporating with the guesses and the coin flip and all that. I know you're a proud papa yourself.
Yeah, I got 2 daughters. The not so typical split, if you will, of 10 years. So a 15-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter. So anybody that wants to feel sympathy for Jeff Grammer, understand that when I go home, I have a 5-year-old daughter who is an emotional toddler, just getting past the toddler age. I have a teenage daughter, and I have a wife. So on any given day, I don't stand a chance against any of them. So I am more than happy to be at a basketball game right now. I don't think they
Jeff,
see
this was a lot of fun, man. We pulled it off. This was a lot of fun. We pulled this off somehow. Any final thoughts? I'm not really in the prediction-making business. I know you kind of sometimes do that with the point spread, but I would expect this to be a close game that with, the under 4 timeout probably has not been decided yet one way or the other.
I will say this. I do pick games because I do the coin flip with my daughter, and I'll tell you, I did pick Boise State at +3.5. The line right now is still 3.5 points, UNM favored. If it's a game I just don't really know for sure about, which this is, I'll take the team getting points almost every time. So that kind of gives me an out, right? Like I can pick the right side of the line, and still the other team can win, and I can kind of say, well, hey, I picked this. So I picked the easy way out and took the underdog that's getting points, and I just don't know for sure, because I do think the Lobos, for the first time in this series, have a chance to exploit not having that huge size advantage on the perimeter that Boise State's had against them, and I want to see how they do against that. On the other hand, the other guys, the role players on the Lobos, basically haven't really been able to step up consistently. So we'll see.
Is Brady out tonight? Steve's wanting to know.
Yeah, I didn't see him out there, and I have not been told anything, but I did not see him out there. He's not been playing much last week anyway. But Braden Applehunt's, I will try and update that on Twitter when I can, on X.
Hey, Jeff, this was a lot of fun, man. Appreciate you for doing this. And like I said at the beginning, you're one of the best in the business, you and Mark Ziegler. And I've been trying to live up to your guys' standard here for a while. So you're doing a great job with the video and stuff all the time. I check in before the games and watch the video. You're doing a heck of a job, man. It's been fun. And appreciate you, man, for doing this tonight. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fun. I will add this. I'm still doing obviously the newspaper thing first, but I'm now trying to jump into this a lot more. So I'm very grateful for you for helping me out all along the way, and hopefully we kind of get the pregame stuff going a little more consistently at the Journal. And I appreciate your help for that. So yeah, look, the Mountain West has some good beat writers, and I'm grateful that we got a couple good ones. And this was fun, man.
Just be lucky that because of your newspaper duties, you can't do a post-game show. Because on the pregame show, everyone's in a great mood on the pregame show. Tune in to my post-game show after the Utah State game last week, and I mean, it was people ready to fire Leon Rice and not play the rest of the season. I mean, you're lucky you don't have to worry about the post-game show.
Yeah, I get that. That happens a lot, and I agree with you that I don't have to deal with that.
Hey, appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks, everybody. Check out Jeff's coverage in the Albuquerque Journal. And you can check out my coverage at BroncoNationNews.com. And we'll have our full post-game show about 5 minutes after the game ends. If you want to jump back over here to Bronco Nation News on YouTube, we'll have a post-game show with interviews with Coach Rice and players, and then you can read Jeff's coverage in the Albuquerque Journal, and you'll get the player interviews up on their YouTube as well. I'll put that on Twitter with Coach Bertino and players. So enjoy the game, everybody. I think it's a 9:15 is the actual tip-off. I hate to break it to you. I believe the actual tip-off on Fox Sports Gold is 9:15. We will talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News live in the Albuquerque Journal. Looking forward to Boise pregame show live from the pit. Enjoy the game, everybody, and we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News live.